members of cabinet who are here with us this morning, permanent secretaries, senior civil servants, and of course, you, members of the press corps. For those of us who are joining us for the first time, the format is as follows. The Premier will make his statement, then the members of the press corps will be given the opportunity to ask their questions. In so doing, we are kindly asking you to please give your name and the organization that you represent. You are kindly asked to put your phones on silent or on vibrate. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium the Premier of this fair country of ours, Mark A.G. Brantley.
Good morning, everyone. Every month, my introduction gets more and more interesting. So I want to thank the PS, Rakely Daniel, for being here and for being a part of this. Good morning to everyone. Thank you all very much for coming. I see the permanent secretaries, members of the press, of course, cabinet secretary, my cabinet colleagues, legal advisor, and others who are here. Thank you very much. This is an ongoing exercise as we try to be more open, more transparent, and of course give the press, most importantly, an opportunity to ask questions. I have quite a bit of material to go through. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can so that members of the press can have the opportunity to ask their questions. I start, as I always do, with congratulations, and I want to congratulate young Acadiento Willett. He's a son of Tonito Willett, the grandson, of course, of famous El Camino Willett. And Acadiento has made the Leeward Islands under-15 team. He participated in Cricket West Indies under-15 tournament, which took place from the 11th to the 21st April in Antigua. He's not just a cricket star, he's also a track and field star. And I want to take the time now to congratulate all the Division track and field athletes who represented St. Kitts and Nevis at the 219 Carifta Games over the Easter weekend in the Cayman Islands. Special mention must be made of Acadiento Willett, Kimali Newton-Roberts, and Khalil Roberts for winning a bronze medal, together with their colleague from St. Kitts in the 4x400 under-17 relay. Upon their return, the NIA hosted an official cocktail for all the athletes at NEPAC. I was there, very happy to have joined the Honorable Eric Evelyn, Minister of Sports, and we were able to offer congratulatory messages. Of course, young Leroy Chapman was also part of the Carifta team, but regrettably he could not make it to the reception, and so we celebrate with them. Let me also congratulate Mr. Delvin Phillip for being selected as a player for the Leeward Islands Hurricane Cricket franchise as of July 1st, 2019. I'm told that Mr. Phillip is also employed to us. He's a teacher at the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School, and he is, as we know, a sport enthusiast, and we wish Mr. Phillip all the very best. I want also to share with the public that, of course, all of us would have heard of the sad passing of Mr. Herman Bobby Liburd, and he would have passed away, we are advised, on the 12th of April. I am to announce that at the recommendation of the Nevis Island Administration, the federal government has readily agreed that Mr. Liburd be accorded an official funeral. The official funeral for Mr. Liburd, who was a former speaker from 1980 to 1983, I believe, in the the house in St. Kitts. That official funeral would take place at the Gingerland Methodist Church in Nevis on Saturday, the 4th of May, 2019. The public viewing for the former speaker will start at 12:45 on Saturday, after which tributes will be held from 1:15. The service begins at 2 p.m. Mr. Liburd was 78 years old at his passing. He was born on April 2nd, 1941. We have had tributes from the Prime Minister, and I myself have given a tribute, and we want today to recognize Mr. Liburd and his tremendous contribution that he would have made to Nevis. We extend our deepest sympathy to his daughter, Krista Liburd Clark, his son, Stephen Straker, his two brothers, Dr. Linton Liburd and Claudius Liburd, and his 5 sisters, Eleanor Dash, Rosen High, Marilyn Liburd, Millicent Liburd, and Yvonne Liburd. And so we certainly would encourage one and all to attend the funeral of the late Bobby Liburd and pay our respects to him. He contributed in many aspects, not just the legal profession, but also politics. He was in the House as a speaker. He has contributed in cricket, and he has done much for the island of Nevis. As part of our diplomatic week, the 7th to the 12th of April 2019, hosted by my ministry, Federal Ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, under the theme Securing a Resilient Future, we were very pleased that seven members of our diplomatic corps had an interactive forum with our sixth form students at NEPAC, encouraging them to lay the groundwork for a career path that they may choose in the future. And on Wednesday, the 10th of April, 70 members of the diplomatic corps visited the island of Nevis. They visited the Deputy Governor General, they toured historical sites, they visited the artisan village, and had a business lunch at Golden Rock Hotel and an afternoon at Sunshine's Bar. I think that they had a wonderful time, and I would want to thank them for coming. We also just on the weekend, this past weekend, on Sunday the 28th, had a very historic and momentous occasion at the Nevis High Court, where the Nevis High Court was renamed in honor of Mr. Theodore Hobson, QC. Mr. Hobson, as we now know, was the first Nevisian lawyer to be called to the bar at that court, and he is the longest serving member of the bar at 56 years. He has been a lawyer for 56 years. He was called in 1963, and he has continued since that time to be a member of the bar. Mr. Hobson was the first ever Nevisian to try out for the West Indies team. He had cricket team. He had traveled to Guyana, where he was a wicket-keeper batsman. He did not make the team, but certainly he put us on the map way back when, and being the first from the Leeward Islands. That distinction of being the first to make the team was later, of course, El Comido Willett. But certainly he, Mr. Hobson, had paved the way. Mr. Hobson had also served in London as a Deputy High Commissioner, and so he has had a stint in diplomacy. He served as a registrar. He served as Deputy Attorney General. He has really been involved in various facets of the life and times of Nevis. And of course, he has also attempted his hand, or tried his hand at politics. As he said, he wasn't so successful at the politics, but nothing beats a trial but a failure, and he did try. And so we want to congratulate again Mr. Hobson and his family, and we think that this was an important honor to be bestowed on him. I thank my cabinet colleagues for acceding to the request that that be done. Let me take a moment quickly to look at our economy. We've had some new job numbers that have been that we've had from Social Security, and I just wanted to share with you, the members of the press and with the public, that those numbers tell us that in the year 2017, the island of Nevis had 367 new registrants for Social Security, and that jumped to 475 new registrants in 2018. We also had 57 self-employed registrations, new registrations in 2017, and that increased to 67 self-employed registrations in 2018. Why is this important? It's important because I've learned from Social Security that they only register people who have a job. That you cannot get registered for Social Security unless you have proof of employment. And so these numbers give us a very good idea of what the employment looks like and how it is trending in relation to the island of Nevis specifically. We've disaggregated the numbers, so I'm only dealing with the island of Nevis. And so we can safely say that we had 367 new registrations in 2017 and 475 new registrations in 2018. In self-employed as well, marginal increase from 57 new in 2017 to 67, in 2018. Of importance is also our gross average monthly wages. 2017, that was $18.54 million. That's what every month was paid in wages in Nevis in 2017. By 2018, that amount had increased to $19.04 million per month. And when you think about the size of the Nevis economy, to have $19 million every month circulating in the economy as wages is, I think, very significant. So again, that number is trending upwards. We wanted to do even better. We want to do even better in terms of our wages and our jobs, but I think we're moving in the right direction. I see our Minister of Gender is here. Madam Minister Hazel Brandy Williams, I think, should be interested to know that of the $19.04 million in average monthly wages, $9.75 million was paid to females, and $9.29 million was paid to males. So more money was earned by the females in 2018 per month than was earned by the males. We also have an interesting numbers because the gross monthly wages per employee, so that's $3,423 per month, which represented a marginal increase of 3.3%. This is again in 2018. The average gross monthly wages per job was $3,200 per month, which again represents an increase of 3%. So again, I think that we're moving generally in the right direction, but we need to continue to press, of course, and seek to create even more jobs. Secondly, in relation to the economy, very interesting statistics from the Ministry of Finance that as of April 2019, there were 1,356 active businesses based on Nevis, based on the business license renewals. I think that that's also important because it means that people are coming in and either applying for or renewing their business licenses. And if the adage holds true that people will not get a business license unless they're involved in some kind of business, I think, again, this is a good indicator of where we're going. In terms of those numbers, 262 new ones in 2017, that is 262 new business licenses, 251 in 2018, and so far for 2019, 119 new business licenses, for a total so far of active business licenses of 1,356. And we continue to encourage that. I continue to say that small businesses, medium-sized businesses, businesses generally, must be the backbone of our development. It cannot be all about the government. And the more people that we can encourage to enter into business, and the more people that we can encourage to have the entrepreneurial spirit come to the fore, I think the better it is for us as an island in terms of our growth and our development. And so this is trending in the right direction. I've had some discussions as recently as this morning concerning our proposed microloan facility that we want to incentivize small businesses. We had promised and committed to a $5 million fund, which we are calling a revolving fund, where we want to make loans of up to 100,000 EC dollars available. We are saying at nominal interest at 2%, so that those who want some seed money to set up business can have an incubator, so to speak, provided by the NIA. We are talking to our friends from the Republic of China and Taiwan on this matter, and I believe that it is now well advanced. What that will do is allow others to come to the fore as well who have business ideas and want to set up something and provide for themselves. One of the things that I should note is that in relation to that particular fund, we are restricting the fund to women and to men under 35. And that is deliberate because we want to encourage women business ownership and we want to encourage more youth business ownership. And so it might be controversial, but that is what we are advocating, that more women should own businesses in Nevis and more young men or young people should own businesses. And so that fund of the $5 million, we are trying to restrict it to that. Not that we're discriminated against people, but we just feel that it's important as we try to achieve our developmental goals, United Nations goals, more women, more girls in business, more women, more girls in everything. That is important that we provide a necessary incentive to try and encourage that. So if you're female, the fund is yours. And if you're male under 35, the fund is yours. If you're female of any age, the fund is yours. So if you're 80 years old and you have a business idea, you can come forward. A good indication always of business and the confidence that people have is the level to which they are purchasing big ticket items. When people go and they build a house or they're purchasing something of significance, I think that that is always important. And I got some numbers here from finance, which tells me that car importation into Nevis over the past few years. These numbers are interesting. We had just 121 cars imported into Nevis in 2015. By 2016, that number had jumped to 643 cars. 2017, 568. Well, let me not say cars, vehicles. And in 2018, 459. We've had a total importation of vehicles onto the island of Nevis of 1,791 at an average of 448 per year over the last 4 years. And so I think that that is a significant statistic. It may be bad for those who are environmentalists like myself. It is, however, a significant statistic for those who are looking to see what level of confidence the Nevisian public has, because my instinct tells me that people don't go and buy big ticket items like vehicles unless they have the necessary confidence. And so we've been averaging 448 vehicles coming into Nevis for the past 4 years. Revenue, because I know that people always want to know where we are. I am told, based on the numbers from Inland Revenue, that as at March 2019, our revenue had increased by 19.34%, or some $3,115,529.29 for that quarter, that is the first quarter 2019, over the same period in 2017. Our target was just over 16 million, and we collected just over $19 million. I don't want, however, any of the public servants to feel, or any of the ministers or permanent secretaries to feel that that's a license for them to spend more, because we understand, all of us, that we're coming up now to what I call a lean period, when the hotels are going to be closed. The Four Seasons, we know, has telescoped since 6 months ago, and they'll be closed on June 1st. And so whatever extra that we have got, we, like the biblical adage of old, must conserve during the time of plenty, for when the time of famine comes. Same rules that apply to you in your household must apply to the government as well. But I think, nevertheless, these numbers suggest that we are moving in the right direction, and I would want to publicly commend those on the front lines of our collection. I know they get a lot of abuse sometimes from the public, but the Customs, the Inland Revenue Department, they are the ones who make it possible for the government to function. And I want to thank them, and thank them for a job well done as they continue to do their very best to ensure that we have the necessary revenues to run the affairs of Nevis. Switching quickly to Culturama, I am advised that there will be a press conference for Culturama 45 at Mount Nevis on Friday at 10 a.m. to launch the calendar of activities and to name the patron. I am also told that the promotional video and jingle will be launched at that time. Minister Evelyn cannot be here with us today. We know he's the Minister of Culture. He's in St. Martin, but he has sent me a message to say that he's still at work, because he has been on the radio stations, various appearances in St. Martin, promoting Culturama 45 and encouraging our friends and family from St. Martin to be a part of our Culturama. And so we thank him for his efforts, and we look forward to the members of the press and public going to that media launch at Mount Nevis on Friday at 10 a.m. In relation to culture, let me also add that the rehabilitation work at the Culturama complex has started. We're going to be doing some work there. That work is ongoing. And we're also doing some work at the Culturama village, and that work, I'm advised, is also to start very soon. We get criticism sometimes that we start too late. So I'm letting you know that we are starting on time, and that the work will be finished on time for purposes of the festival this year, which is our 45th year, when we also celebrate our homecoming celebration. Now, more good news. In tourism, I got the news yesterday that House Hunters, a very popular and famous show on television, that they're currently on Nevis. And they should at least, I think, get a byline in the press that House Hunters is here. And they have been here since the 30th of April, and they will be here, I believe, until the 6th of May. They'll be filming all around the Nevis, and we know that, of course, it's a very popular show. We get eyes on Nevis. It is something that I believe all of us should be proud of. I'm also advised that through a recent initiative where we are trying to have Nevis become a location for photos and film shoots, that Nevis has been able to land the cover of French Vogue. Now, I don't speak French, but I'm told that French Vogue is very popular in the fashion industry, and that Nevis had some people here, and I see some models perched precariously in trees up at Golden Rock, and they say we have the Jungle Edition and the Beach Edition, and so French Vogue is featured in the island of Nevis as well. I think that's a wonderful thing. We have the Tourism Awards that are happening. The categories will be Hotel Manager of the Year, Hotel of the Year, Tourism Employee of the Year, Nivision Adventure Award, Best Nivision Culinary Experience. I wonder if I'm eligible for that, Mr. Hanley. We have the Long Service in the Hospitality Sector, Tourism Entrepreneurship Award, the Taxi Operator of the Year, and the Tourism Partner of the Year. We have extended the deadline. It was Friday, May 3rd. The deadline for submissions is now Monday, May 13th. And so we encourage everyone, the calendar of activities for tourism is out there. We continue to celebrate all things tourism on the island of Nevis. Let me just say a quick word on Nevlec. We have commissioned an audit at Nevlec. That audit has been quite sobering in terms of what it has revealed. And as a consequence, we are on a path of some restructuring at Nevlec. That has led the board to indicate, and they've advised me, that they've advertised the position for general manager at Nevlec, and they've advertised the position for chief engineer at Nevlec. Those positions are clearly open to whomsoever would wish to apply. So far, I'm told for general manager, we have had 23 applications, 15 from the Caribbean, just one from Nevis. And for the chief engineer position, we've had 20 applications, 14 from the Caribbean and one from St. Kitts. So I wish the board all the best as they try to figure out how they're going to deal with that. Let me switch very quickly to education. Ross University hosted their 3rd annual science fair on Wednesday, the 24th of April on St. Kitts. Ross invited all the primary schools in the Federation to participate by displaying innovative science projects. The Ivor Walters Primary School responded to that invitation and responded well to top the primary school's category. They competed in the category of renewable energy, which forms part of the Sustainable Development Goals. They not only won in this category, but placed first overall of all the schools that competed. The 2 students from the Ivor Walters Primary School were Nevroy Manners of grade 6 and Lythe Brown of grade 5. And so we commend the Ivor Walters Primary, as I like to say, my alma mater, for going to St. Kitts and for doing well. They were actually winners of some cash, because for winning, the 2 students earned their school $1,200 US and then $325 EC each for themselves. I'm not so sure how that money was divided, but the school got more than them, but nevertheless, they did phenomenally well, and we congratulate them. The Department of Education has asked me to advise that persons interested in the prospective teaching course for 2019 should pick up application forms at the Department of Education starting May 1st, 2019. So starting today, all application forms must be back in by the end of May, May 31st. Now let us talk a little bit about the interprimary, the Gulf Insurance Interprimary Competition, as we like to call it, the mini Olympics. We are told, and I believe the evidence is there, that it was a huge success. A massive crowd turned out. Matter of fact, we've been trying to get a sense of the crowd. The good people at education didn't tell me what the crowd count was like, but they did say that they were selling tickets for children at $5, $15 for adults, $10 at the gate. So my rudimentary mathematics suggests that the average price of the ticket was $10. And they collected at the gate $54,283.75. I'm not sure where the 75 cents comes from, but in any event, $54,283. If you divide that by 10, you get about 5,400 patrons paying at the gate. On top of that, I'm told that for the first time ever, all the schools were afforded free passes for all the members of staff. They say from principal to cleaner, everybody was allowed to come in for free. So when you add that, and then you add those we know who will jump over the wall, and those who will get in So other ways, ministers who drive in, and others, I think we can safely say that we had well over 6,000 people at the inter-primary sports. And I think I want to commend Minister Liburd and his team, and of course, Minister Evelyn and his team for coordinating and putting this event together. It was a spectacular success. This year, 9 primary schools participated. I'm told that the Nevis Academy participated for the first time. That's what my information says. And that it demonstrates, I think, some foresight, because we have a 9-lane track. So instead of just the 8 lanes, we had 9, and we have 9. So I suppose, based on that, we can't have any more primary schools opening in Nevis, because we have just enough primary schools to put an athlete in each of the lanes at the Mondo track. So we had 9 lanes, 9 schools, and they participated. Congratulations to the Charleston Primary School for winning again. Minister Brand, congratulations to you and to the whole of Charlestown. They were champions again this year by a clear margin. St. Thomas's Primary was run-up in the A zone. But special congratulations also to the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School for yet again winning the championship trophy in the B zone, and Violet O. Jeffers for being their runner-up. All the athletes performed well, and we are looking forward, of course, to a future for these athletes. We have invested in this world-class facility, and I just want to take a moment to say that this is often sometimes why those of us charged with managing have to manage. There will always be voices of dissent. But I well recall when we decided to do that Mondo facility, that there was a usual sound and fury about why it's going to happen. And I recall when I was over there, I asked a vendor, have you seen any flies since you've been over here? And the vendor said, not one. I said, okay. Because one of the big talking points was that it's too close to the dump and all the flies are going to come and it's the worst thing in the world. Truth is that our students are running on a world-class surface. And I will stand up any day and make the argument that the young people of Nevis deserve the very best. And it is unfair to have had them all these years running on grass and dirt, and for those same people now to make the criticism that we've upgraded to a first-class facility. When I go to St. Kitts, and I was there for the first time at the Kim Collins Stadium to look at the Inter-High, and I recognize that it would have been difficult for our students to transition from running on grass to running on a proper surface. So this is what I talk about when I talk about government being elected to govern. And yes, there will be noise. Yes, there will be sound and fury. We have to listen, of course. We live in a democracy. By the end of the day, we have to govern. And that is an example, to my mind, of a good decision, because our youngsters are now performing at the very best. We want to thank Gulf Insurance, of course, the major sponsor, through their agent, A.L. Evelyn. And we also want to thank Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, Flow, Hostels Value Mart, VON Radio, SK Newsline, Four Seasons Resort, Nevis Dental Clinic, Nevis Craft House, NTV, CIBC First Caribbean, SL Hosfords, and the Department of Community Development, all of which contributed to this event. We also, of course, thank the police, the Red Cross, the EMT, the technical officers, and all the others who made this possible. Just again for the members of the press, that this year we had gate receipts of $54,283.75, and that is a considerable jump from last year, because last year we had $46,547.60. Still with education, I'm delighted to announce today that the numbers from our Human Resource Department is telling us that over the last 5 years, we have been able to send 118 students overseas to study with some financial assistance from the government, and an additional 48 students with full scholarships. So 48 and 118, 158, 166, I believe, those mathematicians who are here. Young people from Nevis have benefited from tertiary education over the last 5 years with some level of assistance, either full or partial. And again, I think that that is another investment in our young people and continued investment in the future of Nevis. Switching to health, the Ministry of Health has announced, and it dovetails nicely with the whole idea of training, because they've just announced the Medical University of the Americas MUA scholarship. and the call has gone out for the period 2019 to 2020. 2 scholarships will be awarded towards the pursuit of a 4-year undergraduate degree at a qualifying institution. The scholarship will be awarded to begin studies during the period August 2019 to February 2020. Priority areas for this cycle include, but are not limited to, social work, occupational speech therapy, biomedical engineering, nutrition, dental hygiene, and environmental health. So those are the priority areas, or should I say some of the priority areas for this year's call. MUA offers these 2 scholarships as part of the agreement that the government has with MUA, that each year they offer 2 scholarships, and I'm told it's 2 of the best scholarships that one could get because they do fund a considerable amount of what a student is required to get funding for. Interested persons are asked to contact the Ministry of Health for more information. So please don't say you don't know. Please don't say you haven't heard. Members of the press, please help me to spread the news. The MUA scholarship is now open, and people are asked to contact the Ministry of Health for more information. I'm also very pleased, and I want to commend the Minister of Health, Madam Hazel Brandy Williams, who's here with us, because we continue to invest in our human resource capacity, and that continued search and that continued investment has resulted in the past month the hiring of 2 new workers at our hospital from the Philippines, a male ICU nurse and a female physical therapist. So they've come, and I believe we now have 2 male nurses from what I'm told. So that is a good thing, and I hope the young men of Nevis are seeing that nursing could be a very noble profession that they can pursue. And I commend the team. I see the PS, acting PS is here as well. And I commend the team for continued effort to enhance the service that we have and the human capacity that we have at our hospital. The Ministry of Health recently procured 2 pieces of equipment costing US $18,588.15 for the Nevis Eye Care program. A laser indirect ophthalmoscope used to treat diabetes. It is to treat some problem with the eye caused from diabetes. And an eye care tonometer, that's easier, used to screen patients for glaucoma. The doctors and staff of the eye clinic continue to deliver preventative and corrective services to prevent blindness and to restore vision in persons who are at risk of losing sight or who have lost their sight. We continue, ladies and gentlemen, to commend Dr. Raymond Hubie and his visiting team for providing these services to the people of Nevis. They have done an excellent job for us, and they continue to come year after year to provide these services, not only now to the people of Nevis, but to people of St. Kitts as well, because many of them are coming over to get access to what is really first-class eye care. Sometimes when we talk about health, and the criticisms come, because that's the thing that we do most often is criticize. We forget to mention that we have an eye care program in Nevis that is world-class, second to none. That here you can get major and important surgery done to your eyes, laser surgery and the like. And for a community that has high incidence of diabetes that can lead to problems with eyesight, I think that this is phenomenal for such a small island. And we could not have done it without Dr. Hubie and his team, and we commend them and thank them. Let me also commend the Health Promotion Unit for their continued good work. They had their first ever My Healthy Plate Junior Chef Competition. It was hosted by them, and they collaborated with the Taiwan ICDF, and this was done on the 15th of April. Grade 4 students of 9 primary schools took part in the event. The competition aimed to teach and encourage students to make healthy meal choices that we hope will take them into adulthood. Charleston Primary and St. James Primary tied for first place. The largest school and the smallest school in Nevis tied for first place. Biogen Primary placed second. The Nevis Academy and Ivor Walters Primary tied for third. So Ivor Walters is good at science, but not so good at cooking. But I want to commend all the students, grade 4 students. And they say that I understand the program, they're going to stick with the same students as they finish their primary school. So they'll be able to come back, and I think this is an excellent initiative, and I want to commend again all. We congratulate all the participants and certainly all the schools. The Public Health Department in the Ministry of Health joined the rest of the world in celebrating Vaccination Week in the Americas, April 20th to 27th, under the slogan, Protect Your Community, Do Your Part, Get Vax. The week aimed to raise awareness of the benefits of vaccines in protecting individuals and communities from deadly vaccine-preventable diseases such as polio, HPV-related cancers, measles, and others. We are aware of the current measles outbreak in several countries, and so this is a call to action to remind us of the important role we have to play in preventing the spread of disease. During this week, the community health nurses would have done some mopping up as it relates to MMR vaccine and conducted some educational sessions on the importance of immunization. Now, MMR is measles, mumps, and rubella. Am I correct? Okay. Hope I don't have to get any more of those. But I think most of us in this room would have had our MMR vaccines done since we were in school. We continue to encourage parents, especially, please, to have your children vaccinated. We haven't seen some of these diseases for a long time in Nevis, and we would really not want them to have any reoccurrence. So we encourage you to be vaccinated. Let me switch quickly to water. The Water Services Department, they've now completed the installation of 5,000 4-inch HDPE pipes at Jones Estate. They have now eliminated, and I think this is important, the use of the booster pump in Upper Jones Estate because of the network upgrade. This is a positive move with respect to the network. There's an estimated balance of 1,200 feet to be laid before that project is closed. Pipe installation is still ongoing from Westbury to Jessops as part of the CDB Water and Supply Enhancement Project. This section is now 70% completed. Craddock Road project is proceeding apace. The first phase, I'm told, has been pressurized. That is from the top of Craddock Road to Big Rock. And the second phase from Big Rock to Sol Gas Station has also been pressurized. Presently, pipe installation is being carried out from Big Rock, moving towards Harlem Shelter. A total of 3,500 feet has been laid. That project is approximately 60% completed. To complement the proposed water treatment plant in Hamilton, extensive pipe works is being executed on the compound of the reservoir in Hamilton. We expect to erect a new roof over the stone tank, which was completed in 1904. The intention is to modify and interconnect the 6-inch discharge into the existing 8-inch distribution line that services Charlestown and to serve Upper Ramsbury, Craddock Road, and part of Nugent Heights from the Hamilton tank. The Ministry of Water Services is working with the Ministry of Finance to also secure funding to procure 400,000 imperial gallons water storage tank at Hamilton to accommodate the water from the treatment plant. This would make certainly an important impact on the water resources and provide some relief from the Gingerland wells. We have also installed 8-inch mains, and this has been done approximately 1,400 feet, I'm told. This will be connected to Upper Ramsbury, and some 6-inch mains which will serve a smaller demand area due to the topography of that particular area. The Nevis Water Department has also secured funding under the CDB Water Project to further expand and improve the level of efficiency in the department, to monitor from a remote location the water levels in tanks, flow of water from tanks, operation of pumps, whether on or off, pressure, and other parameters. So we're going high-tech in water. And as a result of that, this system, you call it, is SCADA, S-C-A-D-A, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. Several experts and technicians from the company JDI, Jamaica Drip Irrigation, are currently on island doing the installation of the SCADA software and equipment and providing some training. Public Works, they have accomplished the following up to 29th April 2019. They have completed the Mondo Track Link Road, Brown Hill to Long Point. I think fantastic work there. They have completed Section 1 of Phase 2, that is Bart Village Rehabilitation Road, the roundabout to Black Hat. They have completed the Old Hospital Craddock Road Access Road. That is a concrete road that takes you to the back of Craddock Road. They have done 50% so far of the Coal Hill Beaumont Access Road project, and they have commenced the Brown Hill Road Rehabilitation Project Phase 2 from Brown Hill Communications entrance to the Island Main Road. The CCTV building, scheduled completion 15th of May. We're going to have that is pretty much done. We're going to have the handover of keys shortly. And the Charleston Primary School is also pretty much done. We should have handover on the 20th of May. Physical planning to announce that the Nevis Island Assembly will meet, is it the 21st of May? Madam Legal Advisor, 21st of May, and it is the intention to present the Nevis Physical Plan and Development Control Ordinance at that time at the next sitting. The regulations to that ordinance will come thereafter, and we are continually trying to improve what we do. I want to commend the Minister, Minister Brand, and his team at Public Works. I believe that all of us have been the beneficiaries of the quality of work that we are seeing, and that is what happens, I think, when a government puts confidence in its own people. We used to be told here that we couldn't do it, that we needed to get people from elsewhere to come in and build out Nevis. And we decided that we will give our own people the opportunity. And I challenge any individual who is fear-minded to go and take a drive on any of the roads, Shaw's Road, Brown Hill, Hanley's Road. Just take a drive and tell me if you're not satisfied with the quality of what our own engineers, our own workers, our own technicians have been able to provide. And I believe that that is what, again, people elect governments to do, to put our people first and give them the opportunity. You can't be an engineer in Nevis and be told that any time a project is happening that requires engineering, you're not yet ready, you must go practice and learn how to drive when other people come in and drive all over you. It is not that we are anti-people coming in, and from time to time we will have. In fact, I believe we will have a project this year where we, because of resource constraints, will have a company come in to assist us with that project. But I believe it's important that as the ethos of the island and the government, that we give our people a chance. We give them the chance. And what fellas like Danny and those are showing to us, young Danny Williams, not so young anymore, Danny Williams, is that if they're given the chance, they rise to the opportunity. They're given the chance, they demonstrate that we can produce good work. And I think that that is what is important. You see, the Treasury building in town is almost finished, all local. The roads, all local. Buildings, the CCTV building we talk about, local. And this is a policy that the government has taken. It started under the Honorable Vance Emery, and we have continued it. That this party in government will continue to say that our people must be given the opportunity. And I don't want the members of the press or the public to take that lightly. Because as a result of that policy, you see young fellas now going to the bank and buying a truck. You see young people buying a backhoe or piece of equipment. Why? Because the government has said that as a matter of policy, they will get an opportunity to be a part of the building out of the infrastructure on the island. And I think that that is very important because it ensures that money that is spent here on major infrastructural projects continues to percolate throughout our own community and fuels growth. And that is what we are seeking to do. So when we talk about the jobs number being up, the business licenses being up, all of those are in part fueled by the policy that the government's expenditure on major projects should involve mostly local input. And I believe that that has led to a lot of people being allowed to benefit who would not otherwise have been given that opportunity. So that is the policy we have taken, and that is the policy we will continue to adopt going forward. Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture hosted an expanded 25th anniversary open day on March the 28th to 29th at the El Camino Tonito Willett Park. From most accounts, the event was very successful. And the minister and ministry want to go on record to thank all of the participating persons and organizations for their efforts in making that event so successful. That event represented 25 years of experience that went into that massive event there. On the 30th of March, the ministry hosted a cocktail party at Government House to honor the very hard-working members of the staff, recent retirees and contributors to the 25 years of Open Day. We certainly look forward to producing an equal or better exhibition in 2020, and they're telling me here to say to you that it will also be at the ETW Park. So I am saying it to you because they've told me to tell you that that is where it's going to be. May is Agriculture Awareness Month. This year, the 8th hosting of the month of activities, it was designed to highlight the farmers and agro-processors who toil every day to make sure we have fresh local produce. The theme for this year, Think Climate Smart for Food, Nutrition, Security, and Sustainability. Some of the highlights: of this, we're going to have an effort to plant 500 or more fruit trees during the month. Farmer training sessions will be conducted by the Republic of China, Taiwan, a tech mission. We're going to have Eat Local Thursdays. It sounds like the P.S. Huey. Eat Local Thursdays. Sounds like something he would come up with. Working with 5 restaurants, they will prepare meals with local items for $25 or less. And then they're going to have the establishment of a monthly farmers market where you can buy directly from the farmers, meat, fruits, and vegetables. And then, of course, they're going to have the open house and agriculture career immersion exercise. And incidentally, if you drive around Nevis now, you see a lot of these little kiosks developing where people are selling produce directly, small farmers markets, if you will, because people are out there selling directly. And I think that that's a good thing that we're seeing on the island of Nevis, that farmers are taking their produce direct to market, and we can only be better for it. Department of Marine Resources, I think all of us were very traumatized when we heard that 2 young men had been missing at sea, 2 fishermen, one Carlos Jimenez and one Ismael Lorenzo. And they had left Charleston Port at about 9:30 a.m. in order to set 2 fish aggregating devices about 8 miles off the Long Point port. They left aboard a vessel, a fishing vessel, and family members reported to the authorities that they were missing, and a search and rescue mission was mounted. The gentlemen, we searched for them all Wednesday night, continued on Thursday the 11th and Friday the 12th. And eventually at about 5:30 p.m. on Friday the 12th, they were discovered on the bottom of their capsized boat somewhere between Saba and St. Martin. They were picked up by a ferry boat that plies between the islands, and they were taken to Saba where they received medical treatment and food. They were provided with housing until the following day when they were transported back to Nevis by the Department of Marine Resources vessel Defender. And I'm told our Director of Fisheries went down to Saba, Lemuel Pemberton, to accompany them home. We are very grateful and we thank God for saving the lives of these 2 youngsters. I think all of us were very concerned, and since they have been back, I certainly have visited them at their homes, and I know that Ministers Brandon and Evelyn have also visited them, and I know that Minister and Deputy Premier Jeffers has been very involved in trying our very best to ensure that their safety was guaranteed. At the end of the day, I was told that it is a demonstration of the efficacious way in which information was shared that helped in their rescue, because we were able to get the information out far and wide. And so apparently I'm told that this passenger vessel plying between Saba and St. Martin apparently had word that there were these individuals missing, and therefore was on the lookout. And that is how, through God's grace, they were saved. And so we thank God, and we certainly celebrate with them and their families that they returned safely. Let me, however, use the opportunity to encourage our fisher folk, please, to be careful. Fishing is dangerous business. It's dangerous work. And they must take all precautions, make sure they have their life jackets, make sure they have their GPS, make sure they have all that is necessary, that if something happens, they can make contact. Because once they go missing out there, it's a vast ocean out there. It's very difficult. And I'm told this boat was white and blue. So it fit right into the ocean. It's very difficult to see. And so we continue to encourage our fisher folk to invest in their own safety and security. As I mentioned, safety and security, regrettably, Nevis has had the report of another homicide for this year. A young Donald Cornelius, we are told, a young man. I would want to extend our condolences to his family and to continue my appeal from this rostrum and others to our people that we put down the guns and the knives and we start to act and function as a sensible and caring society should. We have the head of our police here with us in Nevis, Superintendent David. I want to commend him and his team for their continued efforts, and to say that this really is a blemish on what has been thus far a very few good months for the island, because since the 1st of January we have not had any incidents, gun-related incidents on the island. And so I was very saddened to hear about this. I thought that we had really now gone on the right track. And sadly, young Cornelius has lost his life. And so we pray for his family. We hope that others will also pray for them, that they may find some comfort. And Superintendent, you continue to have our support, that whatever the police needs in terms of resources that we can provide, we will continue to do so, so that these killers can be brought to justice. And we continue to invite the members of the public to partner with the police and the security forces. If you see something, say something. If you can help in some way, please do, because all of us need to work together, and crime is everybody's business. And so I issue from the Premier's office and from this rostrum our condolences on the passing of this youngster. The question of training. The Human Resources Department has advised that the application process for financial assistance from the Nevis Island Administration for persons wishing to enter universities and colleges is now open and is scheduled to close on Friday the 17th of May. Again, many say they don't know and they don't hear. So let me say it again. If you're wanting to study and you are looking for some assistance from the Nevis Island Administration, that application process is now open. And you can apply to the Human Resources Department here at the Social Security Building at Pinnes. It is open until Friday the 17th of May. Today is the 1st. So you have 17 days to apply. And I would encourage persons, or I should say 17 days left to apply. And I would encourage persons to apply for that assistance if they want assistance to go and study. Application should be made to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Human Resources. There is an application form that's available at the Ministry, and attached to the form, and they will get the guidance when you come, we should have a cover letter specifying objectives for pursuing the studies, an original letter of acceptance from an institution, and the relevant breakdown of your fees. Most deadlines for persons applying for 2019 external scholarships have passed. However, the Columbia Scholarship is still open with a deadline of the 24th of May. And so that Columbia Scholarship offers applicants the opportunity to specialize in master's and PhD programs in Columbia. As you know, we have been trying to source training all around the world. And the fact that in the last 5 years we've had 48 students avail themselves of full scholarships is demonstrative of our success thus far. But we can do much more. And part of us doing much more is for our students themselves to grab the opportunities when the opportunities come. So if you're interested in doing a master's or PhD in Columbia, that is still open until the 24th of May. Social services. Social services, YTS, Yes to Success Skills Training site at Pinnes is well underway. The site, which is mainly set up as a diversion program, will combine on-site skills training in areas such as tiling, electrical wiring, sheet rock racking, glass engraving, to youths who are at risk and need training in these areas to help them acquire jobs. The program also offers educational sessions in work ethics, juvenile laws, and ART, aggression replacement training, to give young persons a chance to bring about meaningful change in general behavior and encourage and assist them with developing positive attitudes and actions to become productive citizens. The main collaborators on this event are the Department of Ministry of Education, STEP Nevis, private sector businesses and entrepreneurs. The OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Project has also been instrumental. During the process so far, they have had 82 youths registered. 59 have completed the program. 80% of those are males, 20% females, and of note, over 60% have been successful in finding work after the program. So I think that's a very good program, and I commend, of course, Minister Eric Evelyn and his team at Social Services for continuing with this very good program. The aggression replacement training classes are being done in schools in Nevis. We all appreciate that we've had incidents of anger playing out, which has resulted oftentimes in crimes of violence. We all heard the tragic news, for example, after a football game in St. Kitts recently, where one youngster from one team viciously stabbed another youngster from another team. And that tells me that there is more need in the country for people to learn how to control their emotions. And so this aggression replacement training is being called. We're going to be doing that in the schools in Nevis. Social Services Department probation officers and guidance counselors at education, they recently concluded an art training session in St. Lucia, February 16 to 22nd, by Dr. Barry Glick of the USA. That training has positioned the island of Nevis to better address the increasing anger being displayed by youths in the society. We now have one master trainer and 3 additional trained social workers and guidance counselors who will be teaming up to offer this training in the schools and to youths in programs run for the Social Services Department. Art, for those that are interested, has 3 integrated components: social skills, anger control, and moral reasoning. All are seen as critical in youth development. The Social Services also celebrate the World Social Work Day, and that was done on March 19th, and they commemorated that for a lively panel discussion and male volunteer drive by the Social Services Department. The roundtable discussion on the topic, increasing male participation in social work. The department has asked me to say to you, and I now say to you, that we need more men involved in social work, and so we encourage our men folk to step up and come forward. Senior Citizens Group, we started with a gathering at Jessup Center for Valentine's back in February, and through the efforts of the Senior Services Division. The gathering, I'm told, was festive and heartwarming, featured Minister Eric Evelyn. The way it's put here, I wonder if he was performing, because he said featured Eric Evelyn, and he was featured on the microphone, greeting, of course, the senior citizens. We know he's very popular among that particular group. They featured songs, presentations, and personal Valentine's greetings to participants and staff. There was also a Thanksgiving service, which was held at Shiloh Baptist Church, and I was privileged to have worshiped with them, along, of course, with Minister Eric Evelyn and the Deputy Director and Senior Coordinator and staff, who were all in attendance. The seniors commemorated Heritage Month in an intergenerational exchange on the 20th of February at the Ivor Walters Primary School. That activity marked the first in the year to encourage intergenerational bonding between young and old. And the seniors used the opportunity, I'm told, to regale the youngsters of old-time stories, what used to be, and some of the cultural and other mores of the island that we are losing now in this fast-paced technological environment in which we exist. I'm coming close to the end of my opening statement. Just to say a few more things on youth. We continue to celebrate Youth Month. That was done in the month of April. And we had an Easter camp dubbed Camp Rights, and that was done from April 8th to 18th at the ETW Park. It catered to children ages 5 to 16, and the focus for the camp was human rights, specific human rights, and focus were we are all born free and equal, don't discriminate, the right to education, the right to life, the right to play, right to nationality, freedom of expression, and the right to food and shelter. They were engaged in a number of activities, and we are told that 106 campers were recognized as successful participants in the Camps Right program. Youth for Human Rights March and Rally, that was held on April 26th. The Youth March showcased 33 youth groups and organizations that sought to highlight and heighten awareness of the human rights through placards, banners, and street routines. The march commenced at the former Artisan Village and culminated at the ETW Park with a rally. Specially invited guests from St. Kitts participated in the march, namely the Youth Empowerment Office, Caribbean Youth Ambassadors, and Corps members, 25 most remarkable teens, and volunteers of the Volunteer Corps. Registration for summer job attachment is ongoing, and we invite people to provide internships to school leavers. Registration ends on May 31st, And the nominations for the 25 most remarkable teens are now open. The deadline is May 24th. So for those who may want to nominate a deserving teen, we are asking you to send your nominations in by May 24th. The areas are spirituality, courage to overcome, school pride, volunteerism, scholar-athlete, music, dance, fashion and design, and technology. Youth Impact 12 program seeks to recognize the accomplishments of youths between the ages of 18 and 30 in various areas of national interest. every month, a young person is highlighted based on the area of focus for that month. The nomination category for June is Youth in the Arts, and for July is Youth in Culture and Historical Preservation. Deadline for nomination for both months is May 17th. Registration of youth camps and youth groups. The Department of Youth announces the ongoing registration of all youth groups. The action is important as the department aims to strengthen the capacity of youth-led and youth-serving groups, which will ensure growth and stability. So please register. And then the Caribbean Youth Ambassador is Mr. Dwayne Hendrickson of Brownhill, Bobsy and Hyacinth's son. He's been selected as the male Caribbean Youth Ambassador. He resides in Brownhill, made contributions to youth development over the years. He's a member of the Nevis Performing Arts Choir, Harmony United Choir, president of the Nevis Youth Council, a member of MACAV. He holds a Bachelor of Business Administration degree with a specific focus in accounting from the University of the Virgin Islands. He is currently employed as a senior tax collector at the Inland Revenue Department. Congratulations to young Dwayne Hendrickson on being our male Caribbean Youth Ambassador. And my final, is it final? Yes, final area today is sport. The Department of Sport is continuing to lead the charge in reestablishing a number of sporting associations in Nevis. In March, a forum called Focus Netball was held, where netball enthusiasts had open discussion on the state of netball in Nevis. As a consequence of that, an interim executive was elected, led by President Lydia Claxton, who is one of our most famous netball players. The immediate task of that interim executive involves working closely with the Department of Sport to get netball playing across Nevis again. All of us who are my age would know that there was a time when netball was one of the top sports in Nevis, and it has practically died. And so we're trying to revive netball. And I call on those past netballers out there who have lots of experience to come around and be a part of the sport and try to help. Similar exercise was done on April 6 with the aim of re-establishing the Nevis Amateur Athletic Association, or creating a new body that will govern track and field in Nevis. A committee was also set up there, and the Department of Sports will facilitate the election process, which is scheduled for no later than August 2019. Once all our sporting associations are organized and functioning, there will be a series of development workshops facilitated by the Department of Sports, focused on strategic planning, financial management, etc. The Department of Sports, in collaboration with the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association and St. Kitts Nevis Olympic Committee, hosted a training workshop for coaches from across Nevis. The workshop, called FIFA Olympic Solidarity Youth Coaching Course, saw 30 coaches, 21 males and 9 females, from schools and communities becoming certified Level 1 youth football coaches. The workshop was declared open by the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who is the Minister responsible for sports, and was facilitated by Mr. Etienne Sillier, FIFA-appointed instructor. This is part of the mission of the Department of Youth and Sports to develop the capacity of persons charged with nurturing our youth involved in sporting activities. Negotiations are currently taking place, and this is important, with several regional international entities to do similar and ongoing capacity building programs for coaches, officials, and administrators in netball, basketball, cricket, and track and field. April 25th saw the commencement of the inter-high school basketball. The defending champs are Gingerland, but we also have CSS now, and the International Secondary School Vikings. Let me give you the name. Gingerland Secondary School Panthers, Charleston Secondary School Lions, and the International Secondary School Vikings. So those are the names of the 3 teams that are competing. And we thank the sponsors, because each of the teams is sponsored by a bank. RBTT sponsors the CSS Lions, National Bank sponsors the GSS Panthers, and the Development Bank is sponsoring the NISS Vikings. This new initiative is a result of the private sector's willingness to partner with the department, as they are strong believers in our goals and mission of providing opportunities for our youth through sports. The Ministry of Sports, through the Department of Sports, is also coordinating efforts to send a track and field team to the Whitsuntide Games in Grenada in June. We are committed to continuously provide opportunities for our young athletes and thus we have also engaged the private sector for their assistance with this initiative. The department encourages any individual or institution who wishes to contribute to this endeavor to contact Director of Sports Jameer Claxton at the Department of Sports. And just for emphasis, we have decided that this is open to Nevis to send a team to this sports meet in Grenada, and we want to send a team of our best to Grenada to represent. It is not just about Nevis and getting exposure. It is more about the youngsters getting the ability to perform at that stage, when we hope they will be seen by coaches and universities and the like, and perhaps given an opportunity to go farther than they can with the current limitations that they would have on the island of Nevis. Those are my comments. I believe I've taken a very long time, and I apologize for that, but I thought that I had enough information that I wanted to share with you. And I invite now members of the press who may have questions, please, to come to the microphone. Just state your name and your organization for purposes of those who are listening and viewing, and ask your questions, and I assure you I'll do my best to try and answer them.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, Master Leslie from Vaughan Radio. I have a couple of questions. I hope we can provide some answers. First off, you mentioned the impressive wages, income, the comparison between male and female incomes. Now, my question has to do with the poverty alleviation program. In light of all what you said about the wages and income, how often will the program is being assessed, reviewed, to make sure that the correct persons are being captured?
Well,
before you answer,
sorry,
I'll
yes.
just do the other questions. The other thing is, you mentioned the number of vehicles over the past 4 years. I think you mentioned something like 1,700 vehicles in the last 4 years,
Yes.
1,791. What I have to say to that is, in 2015, we did a survey, and there were just over 9,000 registered vehicles. That's 2015. So if we have to take that number into consideration, we're looking at roughly a figure of 10,791 vehicles on Nevis.
Some of them driving themselves.
In a population of about
13,000.
13,000. But the question I have is, how will the government deal with that situation in light of the roads and the congestion in Charleston? Because normally, I always tell people that when I came to Charleston just about 20 years ago, literally you could lie down in the street at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. You could just sit down on the road. Right now, once a vehicle stops in Charlestown, there's a backup. So what plans have been made to deal with that situation? And it will because we haven't had the figures for 2019. So how are you going to deal with that situation? When you have a situation, you have about 11,000 vehicles in a population of 13,000 persons. That's number two. The other one is, I don't know if you have an answer to that question, but it's the question a person I've been asking over a period of time, and it has to deal with juror services for the High Court.
Yes. When
it comes to the High Court criminal assizes and those things. One of the things that has been said, and which I have noticed, that public servants are not allowed to be jurors. I want to know if that's a law or how it is, because what you find happening, you have people from the private sector, unemployed people, who are asked to be jurors. Now, if you don't show up, you get a summons, you could be charged or whatever. And public servants, I must say, are let off the hook. Is it a policy or what? If you can explain why are public servants not allowed to do jury services? So, and the other thing, the last one is, it has to deal with the CARICOM skill certificate. I don't know if you're aware, about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was this information that there were a number of fake documents, about 168 fake documents. Out of that, you had 167 from Trinidad and 1 from Guyana. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis was mentioned in the countries that have been affected, where those documents are being submitted and so. So I don't know if you are privy to that information and what is being done to deal with that kind of situation.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Let me start where you stopped at the CARICOM Skill Certificate, fake documents. It is something that we grapple with all the time. It's something we grapple with all the time. It's not just in the context of CARICOM Skill Certificate. It's also in the context of many who are seeking citizenship. many who come seeking some service or otherwise. And we continue to try and tighten up to ensure that what we have in front of us are genuine documents. It is very difficult to do. As technology advances, people can forge and fake documents now that look very real. So we are continually having to check oftentimes with the source of the documents to ensure. So all I can say to you and to the public is that we continue to do our best. But it is an ongoing problem where people try to cheat the system, and we will just have to continue to make best efforts. Jurors serving services at the High Court, yes, my understanding is that public servants are not allowed. I'm not so sure why. It may well be that because a prosecution is really being done by the government, by the Crown, that they say servants of the Crown should not be jurors, who are the judges of fact in a trial. So that might be the historic reason. I'm hazarding a guess. But either way, I take your point. Some have argued that we should get rid of the jury trial altogether and let a judge deal with everything. Just as in a civil case, the judge is both trier of fact and law. In a criminal case, we say that the jury is trier of fact and the judge is the trier of the law. So we bifurcate the responsibilities insofar as a criminal trial is concerned. Some countries have moved to just a judge or panel of judges dealing with both types of cases. I think all of these are debates that the country must have. And as we mature and as we develop, I have no doubt that these debates and discussions will happen. Vehicles, road congestion, it's a major problem. The government and the cabinet has taken a decision that we will hire a firm, I believe it was from North Carolina, to develop a plan for us for Charlestown. And that plan, we are asking them to look at possible creating pedestrian traffic only areas in Charlestown, creating parking zones in Charlestown, and what we envisage could happen is that we provide transportation using golf cart-like transport. Some maybe, as we get to geothermal and those types of energy sources, powered by electricity, which we hope will be a lot cheaper, but that will be able to move around. So when you buy your groceries, you jump on the cart, they take you to the parking lot, you then get into your car and you go. But that would reduce the congestion of the traffic inside the main arteries of Charlestown itself. So we're looking at that, and we hope that we will this year certainly engage with them and get a plan for Charlestown. In the meantime, we have said it before and we continue to encourage those who have land around Charlestown that is lying empty, and some properties around Charlestown have old abandoned homes on them, that the government is prepared to incentivize individuals to use those lands as parking, paid parking, and that we feel that that too will alleviate some of the pressure. I believe it's already happening at the Methodist Church, and I think that at the top of, what's that road called? Chapel Street, on the left there's another small parking facility there. But there are some other lots around town. In fact, we are in discussions now with one landowner to see if that can be converted, and we think that that will help. That, however, doesn't answer the overall question. And the bigger question is, what do we do? It's a very difficult thing, politically and otherwise, to tell a youngster they cannot have a vehicle. Because the first thing they're going to tell me, well, you have two. So why is you're telling me I can't have one? And many young people have an aspiration to have their own vehicles so they can come and go as they wish. People are not now walking to school like the days of old. And we have more buses, we have more vehicles generally. It does create a problem environmentally, Mr. Lee. It creates a problem in terms of congestion. And it also creates a problem. What happens to those vehicles once the end of life has come? Because they're mechanical and therefore they have a shelf life. That is why we're very pleased to have partnered with a company that came and went around and helped us to clean up some of the island. There's still more to be done, but we're able to ship off, I'm told, scores of containers full of metal from crushing these vehicles and sending them back to the United States. And the program up here, in fact, was so successful that the chaps in Sinkits looked over and decided to hire the same guys. So I'm told they're now in Sinkits doing the same thing over there. But that is the effort of the government, is trying to rid the island of the wrecks and the abandoned vehicles. But each year, as it shows, more and more coming in. And if you're averaging 448 per year, it tells you how significant that is. So whilst I'm saying that it is evidence of some confidence in the economy, we understand that it also has the side effect of being bad for the environment. And so we will have to look at that very carefully. In places like Bermuda, they've introduced 1 car per household. That was their solution. And I'm told that as a result, sometime when the children reach 18, they build a little house in the yard. So they have a separate household and they get a car. We also, I think, should encourage the use of things like mopeds and things like that, which are less intrusive, but we see them a lot in other, even in, close by St. Martin. You see a lot of mopeds on the road, we don't have them here. So the government will have to look at that and probably even look at our tax policy. Currently, we charge a bit more, I believe, if your engine size is bigger, and that means that you consume more fuel, etc. But I think that we need a holistic program to look at this to see how we can solve it. But it is not an easy fix because, as I said, people have a natural inclination and ambition to own a vehicle of their own. I think all of us were in here when we grew up. And when we got to adulthood, we wanted our own wheels. We wanted the ability to drive and do our own thing. And it's tough for you to tell a youngster now that you can't do that. The poverty alleviation program, you say how often will it be reviewed? My understanding, as you know, it's administered from St. Kitts. It's a federal program. My understanding is that it is constantly being reviewed because we realize that there have been allegations that some people got on who should not be on, and some people who should be on did not get on. So we continue to review it, and I believe that that program will continue in that vein. Thank you.
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Bjorn Hanley, and Mr. Premier, thank you so much for that long presentation. I do hope that you would give me some time to ask these questions, because I have quite a few of them here. And so thank you for your patience and understanding. Mr. Premier, at last press conference, you mentioned the opening of the Integrity in Public Life office at RAMS. I did some research and I spoke to one of the commissioners, and they told me they don't know anything about any office, that I had more information than them. So what is the status of the office for the commissioners? That's question number one. Also, freedom of information. What is the timeline for the coming into force of the Freedom of Information Act? Will that come into force before the next election? And also, I asked you some questions several months ago in regards to the roofing program, federal roofing program. There's nothing up to date, and when will Nivisions be getting that assistance? Because many of them, their roof would have been damaged during the hurricane, and they're still waiting on that program to arrive in Nevis. If you could respond to those,
okay,
or you want me to continue, because I have quite a number here. If you
okay, you're going to stand or you want to take a seat? It's up to you.
I would stand.
Okay,
sir.
all right. The status of the office for the Integrity Commission. I'm a little surprised, Mr. Hanley, to hear you say that you spoke to a commissioner and said he did not know, because we have been putting that office together for some time and they have been actively involved in that process. So I'm a little surprised to hear that any commissioner could say they did not know, because there are only 3 of them. But my information is that the office is ready, that everything is in, furniture, internet, electricity, all that is required, that the commissioners themselves have interviewed individuals and selected who they want to hire at that office, and that we have agreed on the fee and all of that for the commissioners. And as far as I know, the doors should be open. The doors open today, but the shows should be open shortly. I mean, everything is in place. So
you have a date for that? A date?
Well, I would have thought that it was, to be honest with you, I thought it was open today. But
you have a ceremony today.
I'm saying, no.
Opening ceremony.
Just hear me out. I thought it was going to be open today. I'm getting a little nod of the head here, or shake of the head from the PS, who's suggesting shortly. So if it's not open today, Pierce, I want it open as quickly as possible because we did commit to the 1st of May, and today is the 1st of May. But Mr. Hanley, I can assure you and the public that every single thing that needed to be put in place has been put in place. And it is now a question simply of them throwing their doors open for business. And we hope to have maybe a brief ceremony so that we can put this to rest and that we don't need to have questions every week about when they will be open. Because as far as I know, everything that is required of the government, we've funded and financed the entire operation. We've found the resources. And as I said, they themselves have done their interviews and selected who they want to work there. So that, I think, we can tick that off the list. Freedom of information timeline, I think you asked me that question some time ago, and I said that we'll try to have that operationalized this year. That was the intention. We have some work to do in that regard. The legislation contemplates that we will have information officers at the various ministries and for the government, so that when somebody asks a question, for example, of the Ministry of Works, there should be someone who is a repository of that information. So we have some work to do on our side in order to make it effective, because I don't just want the legislation to be there. We have to have a functional legislative framework for freedom of information. So we've committed to this year. We're in May now, the start of May, so we're going to continue to work on that. I think the legal department is seized of our request in that regard. Roofing in Nevis, I am very happy to say that the process has in fact started in Nevis already, and that some divisions are already getting the benefit of the program. How we decided to do the program in Nevis, Mr. Hanley, is that people who were affected by the storm, who brought their assessment of damage to the attention at the time, let me focus and say it slowly, who brought their evidence of damage or report of damage at the time of the hurricanes to the folks at disaster preparedness. That's the list that we're working from. And what we're asking people to do is that those who have been affected would have the damage assessed. So they'll come with an estimate of how much it is to fix their roof or the damage as the case may be. And that is what we have been doing, to fund them. So we have people who come and say, listen, this is going to cost $60,000, and I have my contractor already who's going to do it for an additional $20,000, and so we're funding them to the tune of the $80,000. So that process is already started on the island, and some people are already benefiting from it. That's the last report. I'm sorry?
Registration is where?
Well, there's no need for registration. As I said, people would have reported their damage at the time of the storm to disaster preparedness. So we are working from that list of individuals. So if you, Mr. Hanley, suffered some damage during the storm and you reported your damage to disaster preparedness, then you would be on the list.
Got it.
All right? Some, of course, would have already fixed their homes because there were other things like duty-free and other assistance that would have been provided. Some people got funding for other mechanisms and were able to fix. So we're really focusing in the first tranche on those who are still vulnerable after the passage of those storms way back in 2017. But I can tell you that that process is ongoing. That's the last report that I had from Minister Evelyn, who's administering it. So that program is already underway here on the island of Nevis.
All right.
I think those are the three questions you asked.
What is the status of the environmental building at Hard Times, Gingerland? Where is the exact location of that that the construction will be going on? And also, what is the process of the naming of public buildings after persons in Nevis? Do we have a commission in place that decide who would be named after who? Can you explain the process? If you could answer those two, and then I'll wrap up.
Okay, Mr. Hanley, I do not have an update on the building at Hard Times, environmental building, you say? Interpretation Center?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I don't think that has advanced beyond the discussion that we had before. That is still something that I hope on my next occasion to be able to give an update.
Do you know where it's going to be, the location?
We're exactly in Hard Times. Next to the Hard Times Community Center.
On which side? At the back or in? At the side.
So it'll be close to you, Mr. Hanley.
Close to me,
yeah.
all right.
So you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, okay. And then the process you say of naming the buildings, the truth is that we don't have a process in place. That's the honest truth. We have never had a process in place in terms of a committee or a group that deals specifically with naming monuments or buildings. What we have done is from time to time, if representations have been made to the government from stakeholders, from interested individuals, we have looked at it. And so some individuals clearly would jump out. I don't think that those individuals need any recommendation. And El Comido Willett, so Simeon Daniel, for example. I don't think that these are individuals that you would need to have too much debate about, because they are well known and renowned for their contribution in their various fields. But it is something that I think, as we try to move forward and do more in terms of naming streets and monuments after our own people, that the time may well be now to put together a particular committee to deal with that and to get recommendations from the public in relation to that. The recent renaming in relation to Mr. Hobson, I said in my opening statement why we thought that he was really the right person to have that privilege bestowed on him, because of his contribution that he has made over more than 5 decades, and we thought that that was important. But I think you raise a very valuable point, and my view is that it is perhaps time for the government to look to put some kind of process or committee in place to deal with the naming of monuments and streets. But currently there is no such committee.
Okay, because if there's no process in place, we could very well wake up tomorrow morning and hear Saturday there will be an opening ceremony, the renaming of Charlestown to Brantley's Town.
It might well be, and that would be a very good, that would be a very, it sounds to my mind a very good name.
Yeah,
you know?
Brantley's Town and
So,
Mark Brantley's Peak.
Or you may hear the Nevis renamed Bijon Island.
Yeah.
That's also possible.
That sounds good.
That's also possible.
Maybe we should work on that for the next...
so let us get a process. I think to avoid those two calamitous events, let us get a process so we don't have Charleston being renamed or the island of Nevis being renamed. So let's work on that. Good.
I have a question close to me there at Hard Times. There is urgent need for lights at the Hard Times playing field. Can you let us know when those lights will be installed at the Hard Times playing field? Because there's residents there saying they need those lights before the election.
Well,
they've been waiting for years now.
I don't know that elections are the timeline that we use.
Okay.
We, I think, as a government, we try to do things deliberately. We try to do things in order, and we try to do things as the resources permit. Let us, for example, if I can digress for a moment, look at roads. Every piece of road that we do in Nevis, there are hundreds of people who call and say, what about my piece of road? Truth is that we have to appreciate that the government with limited resources cannot do everything at once. I will remind the people of Hard Times that we have already invested considerable sums in that field, and that what is there now is a far improvement, a far cry from what was there. So it's an ongoing process. If we look at Brownhill as an example, Brownhill was developed. Initially, the field was done, fenced. Lights then came at some later stage, and then at a later stage yet, we had bathrooms and some stands put in. Same thing over at Viogen. That was a process that we know took place. When was it, Madam Minister? About 3-4 years ago, when we did that process over there. So it takes time, and I just want the public to appreciate that it's not for want of effort, it's not for want of interest. Sometimes it's for want of the necessary resources. So I've taken a roundabout way to tell you that the lights will come when it is possible for the lights to come.
Well, I did some research on that, Mr. Premier, and I understand that there's lights in Sinkits, in storage in Sinkits. So I'm wondering if you can ask the Honorable Vance Amory, who is the federal representative for Gingerland, to have a word with the Prime Minister and see if he could send over those lights that is currently in storage in Sinkits, so that the people of Hard Times can get some lights.
Well, I'm not aware that lights are in storage, but I'm pretty sure the Honorable Vance Amory is hearing you loud and clear.
Yes, so have a quiet word with the Prime Minister, and in the next month or so, we are looking forward to those lights to be installed at Hard Times, because it's of top priority. People are saying they need it now. They need those lights now. So, will you have a word with him? Can you promise us that you'll have a word with him?
Well, I'm telling you that your word is going out loud and clear. So
thank
that
you
word,
so much for that.
I mean, if you say so, you know. I mean,
Okay. Mr. Premier, information came to my desk in regards to packages for the Nevis Post Office. A number of complaints out there that they're being searched in St. and sealed back and then being searched again in Nevis. Do you know the reason for that? Is there a reason?
Yes, there has been an ongoing discussion, I think, on that matter. I believe that Minister Brand has been engaged. I have been engaged. Apparently, we are being told that it's a security concern. And the authorities in St. Kitts, of course, they're charged with security. And they're indicating that they have been concerned about contraband coming into the country in these packages. So they have decided that over there, which is the initial point of entry, they will do a search. What it has resulted in is, of course, that the people in Nevis have had delays in their packages and difficulty in accessing their packages. So we have said that the search, yes, we agree. We cannot compromise the safety and security of our people, but that search really should properly happen on Nevis, and that the packages should somehow be sent over in bond and searched over here. So far, that is a conversation that is ongoing. But the issue really is one of security. That is what we've been advised.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all for now.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Monique Washington, St. Kitts Nevis Observer newspaper. Mr. Premier, this will be the second press conference I would have heard you speak about an audit at Nevlec, and speaking about what it has revealed and the need to restructure and so on and so forth. My question is, what did the audit reveal? And what happened to the acting general manager that was there? Why wasn't he promoted to that position? And if he wasn't qualified, why was he even in that position to begin with? I came in a little late, so I don't know if you spoke about the overly peer. Is there an update on that? And, well, for the year, for 2019, I have seen a lot of cases brought against the NIA. Some, the NIA has been successful, and some, they have not been. However, a lot of these cases have been appealed by the government. My question is, how much is it costing the people of Nevis for the government to appeal these cases? And why not, when the court gives its ruling, leave it there and not appeal the case? Those are my questions.
All right. The appellate process is really open to anyone, including the government who feels aggrieved by a particular decision. As I understand the process, if the government gets a decision that is unfavorable to the government, then our lawyers will do an assessment. If we feel the judge was correct, then certainly we will not appeal. If, on the other hand, we feel that there are areas of appeal, sometimes the judge can be assessed by us to be partially correct and partially incorrect. So we may appeal only on those points where we think the judge was wrong. So I don't think that there should be any distress over the government's exercise, or for that matter, any litigant's exercise of their right to appeal. That's a right that exists. I don't see it as an additional cost per se, because sometimes if a decision is a bad decision, the cost of not appealing might be higher to the country than the cost of appealing that decision. So I believe that is just a process, and we evaluate each case on a case-by-case basis to determine whether we appeal or we don't appeal. Cases against the NIA, you're right, we have lost one or two. I believe we won the majority, which is always good. I think that we have a lot of lawyers, Ms. Washington. You know, I heard Mr. Hobson speaking, and Mr. Hobson said when he came back, there were about 10, I think he said, or 12 in all of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now there's 140. 14 little Nevis alone. And my own sense is that some of them are creating work for themselves. So in the past, where there was an opportunity perhaps for discussion and parties to work something out, now the lawyers are saying, well, let me go to court. So the court lists are getting longer and longer. And the government is a major institution in Nevis, and so the government is a nice target for a variety of reasons. You go traffic department, something goes wrong, you go to the hospital, you go inland revenue, whatever it is. And so the idea of suing now is very popular. A lot of tailors around town, all of a sudden, a lot of suits being made. Some fit and some don't fit. So we just have to recognize it's part of development. And it's part of the growth. And as more lawyers come out, more and more of that is going to happen. And so we just have to deal with it. I am myself, you talk about suits against the NIA, you forget the number against me personally. I mean, the bailiff tells me I'm his most popular client now, because they're looking for me every day to serve me with something. Some things I don't even know anything about, but that is the nature of things. And so it goes through the court system. Sadly, the court system gets clogged up with some things sometimes that I don't think should be there, or some things that ought to be allowed to rest. I can cite this Candy Resort fiasco, for example. That case was brought against us. We won. We won the case. But the people have said they're going to appeal, and they will continue to appeal. So what are we to do? The development is standing there. The developers contacted me up to recently, said that they are so anxious about this whole thing, because if you drive by, you see the buildings are now starting to deteriorate. They're saying if they can only come and put in the landscaping and leave it just so, they will not do any more construction. But those who are involved in the case see it differently, and that is their right. We live in a democracy, we respect the rule of law, and part of that is you can't tell people not to sue. They have that right. If they lose, then they pay the costs, hopefully. That's the way it goes. Nevlec, you asked a very good question. What did the report say? Some of what the report says would clearly have to be confidential because it's proprietary in nature, and Nevlec would not want to reveal all of the details of that report. But what the report did disclose is a systemic failure in terms of systems, in terms of management, in terms of how the company functioned, in terms of maintenance. We have engines that haven't been maintained in long past their maintenance dates, and that has contributed to breakdowns. Manuals were not being followed, plant safety and security. I mean, a litany of problems. And the board felt, based on the advice they've given to me, that it was time for them to do an overhaul and to look at the human resource available to Nevlec, look at what is there. Bearing in mind, all of us, we're here now in air-conditioned comfort and the lights are on. We take it for granted. But the minute the lights go off, you hear the sound and fury that comes. Two things, I believe, can force any government out of office the quickest is lack of water and lack of electricity. People are willing to put up with other things. So we can't play around with Nevlec. It is an important institution. It is our only supplier of electricity for most of the people on the island. And so we have to treat it seriously. And I think the first step was to get some professionals in to do a top-to-bottom review. They produced a very extensive report on their findings. And based on that, the board, guided by that, has said that it has to do certain things. You mentioned the acting general manager. He has been there and he has acted as general manager for some time. And I believe, but he retained, I'm told, his substantive position was always left there. It was never, how should I say, he was never relieved of his substantive position as human resource manager. So what I've gathered is that the position of general manager will be advertised, and that the acting general manager, if he so desires, is entitled to apply, like anybody else. But they wanted to widen the net and see who is willing to apply. And basically, I think from the numbers I saw here, we've had, is it about 20-something? I think I did mention. We've applied, 23 applicants have applied for general manager. 15 from the Caribbean and 1 from Nevis. I don't know if that 1 from Nevis is the acting general manager, or the individual who occupied that role. But certainly the process, again based on what the board told me, was widened to see, well, what would be the qualifications of persons who would apply, so we can get the best possible person in that position. Chief engineer, again, the consultants and the report suggested that we needed a chief engineer in place, and that we've had 20 applications, 14 from the Caribbean and 1 from St. Kitts. So nobody from Nevis apparently has applied for the position of chief engineer at Nevlec. So it is not meant to be any discourtesy to the acting general manager. It is meant to be a genuine effort to reform Nevlec and to ensure that we get the best people in the right positions, so that you don't come back next month and ask me why it is you can't get power in your house, and why your children food in the freezer run down, and all of these things. Because, as I said, I don't want to have that headache. And based on this report that we had, things were pretty bad at Nevlec. Wally Pier, I was just sent some photos this morning. They're doing the last bit of work there. I know that this has been a perennial question over the months, but all we're doing now is tying in the pier to the land. And LEFCO is doing that. The photos that I saw before I came here is that they're pouring the concrete now. So once that is done, really and truly we'll be ready to go. There will be a temporary structure put there for purposes of ticketing and the like. And NASPA will be managing that facility. And what I'm understanding from NASPA is that they're meeting with the boat operators, the water taxi operators, to ensure that everybody's on the same page in relation to that pier when that pier comes into action. We were promised that it should have been ready by today, but we have given ourselves May 15th, which we feel is a reasonable time to have everything that we need done. And so that is where we are. I will come back once I have more information, Ms. Washington, but my understanding is that there will be a user fee. So I want the public to get ready, because there will be a user fee for the pier. I think currently at the Wally Pier, people are paying $10. It will be substantially less than that, but there will be a user fee. And then the boats themselves will pay a docking fee. They are discussing with the boat operators so that they can come to an agreement as to whether it's a monthly fee or whether it's a per dock. I don't know the language, but each time they dock, that they will pay a fee. So all of those discussions are happening. I met with the chairman of NASPA yesterday, and I'm aware that those discussions are happening now. I believe that they should meet on Tuesday of next week with the service providers and the stakeholders so that they can agree on those matters. I myself walked on the pier, walked on the pier Monday, and it's very impressive. I think that what is there is really, really impressive. So once this small bit of concrete is done today, I believe that we would now have a completed infrastructure for the pier. Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Hanley.
Mr. Premier, the lighting situation at Hard Times just triggered another question. I'm wondering, constituency number 10, Gingerland, Hard Times, is in a unique position because that constituency is the only constituency in the Federation that has 2 representatives. One in St. Kitts, full-time, the Honorable Van Samry is based, working and living full-time in St. Kitts, and we have the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who is living and working full-time in Nevis. So we have one in St. Kitts and one in Nevis. So my question is, why are we not seeing that relationship, that working together relationship? Why are we not getting more done? Why is it taking so long to get some lights at Hard Times, considering we have 2 representative working in Gingerland at the same time, supposed to be working on Gingerland. So we should have, in my view, we should have double the work in Gingerland. So why is it so, why do you think it's taking so long to get anything done in Gingerland, considering we have 2, not 1, but 2 representatives?
Okay. First of all, you are proceeding on a false premise that you're not getting anything done in Gingerland. I don't think that is accurate. Secondly, you must understand that the federal representative has certain responsibilities at the federal level. The local representative has certain responsibilities at the local level. For example, Mr. Amri's responsibility in relation to Gingerland at the federal level have nothing to do with lighting of playing fields and things of that nature. That would be a local responsibility. That is for the local minister. So I think that you have to be clear as to the lines. Mr. Amri's, if you say that people in Gingerland have a problem with Social Security, or they have a problem with labor, or the churches in Gingerland have an issue, that is Mr. Amri's federal responsibility. But if you say a road in Gingerland needs fixing, that has nothing to do with Mr. Amri. That is a matter for Minister Evelyn, because he is the local representative. So I think that's the first thing we have to understand, is the difference in responsibilities of when we are at the federal level and when we are at the local level.
Is that in the Constitution? Does it say that in the Constitution? That?
Oh, absolutely. It says that in terms of federal responsibilities and local responsibilities, they're completely different. You can't, as a federal minister, decide tomorrow that you're going to build a road.
So a federal representative cannot build a road. They cannot put up no lights anywhere. That's what you're saying.
No, the federal representative, depending on their portfolio, would have to liaise with the local representative in order to have certain things done in Nevis. You have to recall that under the Constitution, Nevis has an internal self-government.
Yes.
All right? We're only speaking in this way because we happen to, it's the same, or in the case, an individual from that constituency who's at the federal level and who's at the local level. But you have to understand what their roles are, and their roles are different.
So why are they not working together? Why are
But
we not seeing them sitting down?
but that is you assuming they're not working together. I'm not sure why you're saying that. I'm not sure why you're
Because we're
saying
not
that.
seeing it. We're not.
Well, I don't know.
seeing it on
You
the
raised
island
one
of
issue,
Nevis.
which is
We
the
are
lights.
seeing the representative in Sinkits working full time, and we don't know what's going on down there. We're seeing Evelyn in Nevis with culture, and sports. He's doing the best he can, but he needs that help at this time. The Honorable Vance Amry would have been there for 30 years, so he should be here on the island of Nevis, giving the Honorable Evelyn some assistance, some help and guidance at this time. It's unfair to leave Evelyn out in the field,
Mr. Hanley, you're making us,
fighting with
Mr.
sports
Mr.
and
Hanley,
culture
Mr. Hanley,
all day.
Mr. Hanley.
You need Amry here on the island of
Mr. Hanley,
Nevis.
if you need
working
Amry,
together.
Mr. Hanley,
is better
Mr.
than
Hanley,
one.
this is a press conference. It's not a forum for speech.
Okay.
Okay? If you need Hanley, if you need Amry, I'm sorry, call him and tell him you need him.
Yes, we
You don't need
Amry
to come
in
here.
Gingerland.
You need to come here and make a speech.
Amry again.
As a matter of fact, I suggest to you that I believe that your party has forums that they allow people
Yes.
to go and speak. You
Yes.
have not yet been allowed, but
Okay.
I believe when you get the chance,
Well,
when
I'm
you
here.
get the chance, you can
I'm
speak
here
for 2 hours.
speaking. So,
Don't come here. I don't want you to use my press conference for what your party is denying you. This is not the forum for speeches, Mr. Hanley.
okay.
You must demand of your party that they give you a forum.
that's a
You
good
agree with
point.
that?
Well, that's a good point.
Okay, that's a
but
good
I'm
point. I
asking
agree with you.
I'm asking you, is Amry, what is the situation? Is he running again? Is he retired? Because people are saying he's retired, but he's in Sinkits working still.
The Honorable Vance Amry is the representative
He's
at
not
the
retired,
federal
he's
level.
working then.
The Honorable Vance Amry is a representative
Yes.
for the good people of Gingerland, constituency number 10
Yes, sir.
in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Okay? Until an election comes, he continues to be the representative of the
So
good
he's
people of
working
number
full
10.
time with full benefits on the island of Sinkits at this time.
Well, he's a federal minister.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Appreciate you for
All
that.
right, good.
Thank you so much.
Take care. All right. Are there any more questions? Okay, well, it appears, ladies and gentlemen, that I exhausted everyone with my long introduction. I promise that next time I'll try to make it a little less long so that we'll still have some pep in the members of the press to ask a question. But thank you all. I trust and hope that I've provided enough information. We, as I indicated, will have the sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly on the 21st. I think notices should go out very shortly for that. And I believe that these sessions with the press, sessions going to the House, the indication that we're ready insofar as the integrity in public life, these are all part of our good governance agenda. There's a language that we like to hear, and some people like to speak about. We are not just talking about it, we're actually doing it. And I'm delighted that we are here at this particular time in our history and being able to share with each other in this way. No question is too hard, no question is too easy. I think the interaction is important, and there are members of the public out there who are the beneficiaries of the exchange of ideas and information here. So I thank the members of the press, I thank the members of government, cabinet, and permanent secretaries and others who are here. And we look forward, certainly, with God's blessings, to be here at another date to be announced to bring you further updates in terms of what's happening. So thank you for being here, and God bless you.